So it turns out I recorded this entire video with my mic muted. So the next episode of Invincible Season 2 has finally come out. It honestly feels like forever since the episode came out. Even though it was just a week ago, it still feels like it's been forever. That cliffhanger really had me hanging. I don't know about the rest of you. I'm pretty excited to talk about this episode, especially after the last one. We see quite a few more plot points unfolding and quite a few more continuations of some plot points that haven't been touched on in a little bit. Before we get started, I just wanted to say I wanted to have another video out this week, but the way my schedule just sort of unfolded this week, it just didn't really end up happening. So it's just how the cookie crumbled, and I'm sorry. But I should be able to get an extra video out next week, so hopefully that can semi-make up for it. And of course, if you enjoy this video and the vibes of my content in general, then consider dropping a sub. We're trying to hit 900 subs before March is over, and I know, big scary number, but considering the recent support after the last video, I think we can honestly do it. But that's enough self-promotion. Let's finally talk about this episode. This episode starts off right where the last one ended, so we can finally see how this cliffhanger ends. Rex gets shot in the head, and I was paralyzed when that happened. After being such an enjoyable part of the last episode, I was like, there's no way this is how Rex dies. But somehow he gets up and beats the absolute crap out of that Lizard League guy who shot him, and he was like, I can't believe you shot me in the head. And that was just a very Rexplode moment. The final showdown with the Sequids on the Martian craft was extremely intense, and they only made it out of there by a hair. I was kind of expecting Mark to go, like, crazy when Eve got possessed by the Sequids, since, like, anytime she's in danger, he kind of just loses his cool. But I guess seeing him stay calm shows that he's growing both as a person and as a soldier, pretty much. They managed to rescue the astronaut by using this, like, device that Robot was constructing in the last episode. It worked, and thankfully there was enough juice left to free both Eve and Robot after they had gotten possessed. When they get back to Earth, they learn about Rex, Duplicate, and Shrink Ray, and somehow Shrink Ray survived by the skin of her hair. Duplicate, though, she didn't make it. She is dead. She's very much dead. There's this scene in the hospital where Mark goes to talk to Rex, and it's pretty cool seeing the two of them talk because, like, they've always had a pretty, like, negative relationship in the past, but now they seem like, you know, they seem okay with each other. They seem cool with each other. Like, if they were in a fight together, I think they'd have each other's backs at this point, and that's really cool to see because these are two of my favorite characters. And then as Mark is leaving, Eve comes to visit Rex, and she brings him, like, home decoration magazines. And I think it's really funny how Eve said, you're the only person I know who still reads magazines. And Rex is like, the internet's stupid anyway. And Eve pointed out to Mark in the hallway that she thinks the reason Rex reads home decoration magazines, I guess, I don't know what to call them. She points out the fact that he probably reads them because he never really had, like, a proper home, so that was a neat little, like, moment for his character and a little bit of insight to how Rex is as a person. And I gotta say, Rexplode, honestly one of my favorite parts about these new episodes so far. Like, without a doubt, I'm enjoying Rex every moment he's on the screen. Since Immortal and Duplicate were kind of a thing, Immortal goes a little bit crazy in the membrane after she dies. He's had lovers in the past, but, like, this was, like, I don't know, almost different for him. Like, it was worse. And seeing him sort of slowly deteriorate in his mental state and just sort of get extremely angry and sad was pretty neat. Because, like, dude's, like, what, 1,000 years old, something like that? So seeing someone who's lived for that long, kind of like Nolan, have that sort of emotional impact, they kind of reflect each other. Like, they both pretty much say the same thing. Like, why do I feel this way? And, you know, why is it so this way? So it was cool to see them both sort of go through the same thing and sort of, like I said, like, sort of parallel reflect each other. And speaking of relationships, there was this sequence where Amber goes to talk to Eve and Mark goes to talk to Art. And I love Art. He's a great supporting character. Anyways, the sequence goes where Mark and Amber are talking to their respective parties, Eve and Art, about their relationship, and it's kind of this, it's so well done, like the cuts between the two conversations, and when they show the two conversations at the same time, with Art and Eve saying the exact same thing, it was really well done and shed a lot of light on their relationship. I thought it was really, really well done. I don't know if Amber and Mark are broken up at this point. I don't think they are. It's a little bit ambiguous, but for the most part, it's sort of like you can tell that their relationship is running on the last leg of its steam in the engine. So The way they showed that with this sequence of them talking to other people about it was really like, it was good. It was like honestly one of the best parts of the episode. And after Mark is done talking to Art, Art gives Mark Nolan's books after, remember that whole scene where Omni-Man told Mark, like, hey, read my books. And Art gives Mark the books. And as Mark is reading them, he's like, I have a weird hunch about these books. Later in the episode, Alan, our favorite crime-fighting superhero? No, that's not right. Our favorite interstellar superhero, Alan the Alien, comes to sort of recruit Mark for the Coalition, and Mark shows him the books that Art gave him, Nolan's books. And Mark has a hunch that the stories in them are about things that could actually harm or even kill Viltrumites, like creatures and objects and certain weapons and stuff like that. Like, these are all things Nolan turned into books, and I doubt that was the intention of them originally, but they were there, and, Nolan wanted Mark to take advantage of them. So Alan scans the books and takes them back to the Coalition without Mark, but Mark is like, hey, when the actual fight is happening against the Viltrum Empire, count me in. And that was really cool. There were also just a lot of moments with Alan that were just hilarious, like when Mark invites Alan into his door, Mark puts a sock on the door to sort of, make sure no one comes in. And Alan was like, I don't know how it works on your world, but when anyone puts a sock on the door, it means they're fucking. That scene made me burst out laughing. And then Alan continuously uses the word douchebag, and he's like, that is a thing your planet has, right? Like, that's a reference I can keep making. And it was great. Alan is just the best. He's so funny, but he's also, like, so responsible and good. He's just one of the best characters. He's fantastic. And the fact that he's voiced by Seth Rogen is just perfect. They could not have cast Alan better. Later in the episode, we see Omni-Man in prison, and we hear that one Viltrumite general who, again, I'm quite confident it's Clancy Brown voicing him. I haven't had the time to look it up. Actually, you know what? Ovid, do me a favor. Look at that up right now and put it on screen, whoever the voice actor of that Viltrumite general is. But that general guy is pretty much saying, like, how did a moment on Earth make you this soft and this weak and this sentimental? And he's pretty much giving him the offer, like, hey, rejoin your people, begin the path to redemption. And Nolan doesn't say a word, so it's clear that he has actually changed as a person. But seeing Nolan in prison got me excited because I think we're coming up on the part of, at least in the comic timeline, where Nolan and Alan are both in prison and they become like best friends. So I really hope we get to see that later in the season. The episode ends with the astronaut they rescued from space coughing up a live sequid. And the man gets possessed again. Man just can't get a break. This astronaut, I forget his name, but he just can't catch a break, man. These aliens are going to be running his life forever. And I guess we're going to have some kind of situation similar to the flood on Earth, something similar to a flood outbreak. I got the flood on my mind. I watched the last episode of the Halo TV show earlier. And by the way, if you want to see me talk about that, just say so in the comments. We all know there's a post-credit scene, and post-credit scene this time is with Angstrom Levy. I'm surprised I remember that name without having to look it up. Wink. And we see him getting fitted out for a suit, and he's like, I'm going to visit an old friend, when the four-armed tailor asks him what the occasion is. And we see him go through a couple of portals, and I guess he's on the pursuit for Invincible now, so we're going to see where that leads. And I'm glad the multiverse thing, like other worlds, other universes, has been like a very, like, small note. Like, they haven't been doing it like Marvel has. And I can tell that whatever direction the multiverse story with Angstrom Levy goes in, it's going to be handled much, much better. And that was Invincible Season 2, Episode 6. Man, what an episode. Lots of plot threads, either getting tied up or getting close to being tied up, and a lot of new ones opening up in a very, natural way. I gotta say, the pacing of these episodes is fantastic. If there's one thing I would give Invincible credit for, it is the pacing of the episodes. They are so well paced, and you can follow them so easily. It's just, it's fantastic. Honestly, I loved the action. I always love the action in these episodes, but quite frankly, if there was one takeaway from this episode, it's all the character interactions. Like, there were a ton of interactions I didn't talk about just because, I want to keep this video as short as possible. There were a lot of, little interactions I didn't touch on, but those little interactions are what really make this show something special because the characters are just so well written and so well defined as individuals. If I were to say what my favorite scene of this episode is, it would probably be the scene of Amber and Mark talking to Eve and Art about the relationship, just because of how well, sequenced it was, how good the cuts were between the conversations. It was brilliant. I loved it. It was simple, but extremely elegant. Oh yeah, and some other just like random things that happened in this episode that I thought were kind of cool was Rick, the guy who got turned into like a cyborg thing by that weirdo Sinclair, has finally recovered, and we learned that he's like the only person who recovered, so that was pretty neat to see. There was also this good little sequence where Debbie was sort of like looking for nannies to look over Oliver, Mark's baby half-brother, and it's so funny how she knew immediately how every single one of them was like one of Cecil's agents / sent by the GDA. It's so funny how she was able to like, yeah, I'm not that stupid, Cecil, sorry. But yeah, there's a lot of other stuff in the episode like that I didn't talk about just because I want to cover the stuff that stood out to me. I'm sure all the stuff that stood out to you is very different from what stood out to me, so feel free to leave some comments on like your favorite parts of the episode, what you thought was really well done, if you think I'm a big dum-dum, anything like that, just leave them in the comments below. Would love to do some back and forths. It's honestly one of my favorite parts of doing these kinds of videos, is hearing all of your opinions. And again, if you enjoyed this video and just the general vibes my content has in general, then consider dropping a sub. We're trying to hit 900 subs by the end of March. And if you want to show that little bit of extra support, consider becoming a channel member. There's a whole bunch of really cool rewards with like member exclusive emotes, member only live streams and community posts, an exclusive Discord channel to talk in, and early video access, as well as a whole bunch of other cool rewards I think you'd all really enjoy. But that's going to do it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, have a good day, everyone.